Hey family, welcome to How Love Works, where we discuss the principles for lasting love. Well family, what we want to talk about today is something that has been really, I have been really dealing with for quite some time. And I talked about it and alluded to it last time we talked, and we were talking about manhood. So as I had a little while to resonate on the subject of manhood, I decided that what I want to do is give it a little bit more time. So what I want to discuss is I want to talk to you guys as well as the ladies. I want to talk about manhood as a series. And so what I want to deal with 10 specific areas having to do with manhood, dealing with everything from the stages of development for manhood all the way down to financial issues. So if you would just bear with me as we go through all 10 of these areas. I don't really have any idea how long this is going to take because it is a comprehensive subject. I already know that I'm not going to deal with every issue, and I know I'm not going to satisfy perhaps the majority of you. That's not my focus, but really what I want to be able to do is to continue to provide content and information so that the ladies as well as the men can take this content and use it for the edification of you, the individual, but even more importantly, for your relationships. That is the whole purpose of this channel. In the future, as I go into other subject matters regarding relationships, and specifically relationships that are going to be focusing on some of the roles and some of the activities that I think women should be thinking seriously about so that they can have more of what they need in a relationship rather than working so hard to get what they want from the men in their lives. That's the reason that I said from the outset when we started this channel, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to give you 36 years of experience of what I know relative to personal relationships and more importantly relative to having a lasting love relationship. Because beloved, what is the point of getting into a relationship with anyone and you have to fight tooth and nail just to maintain that relationship? I mean, really, what is the whole point? What is the point of getting into a relationship with someone and then everything is a challenge, it's a conflict, it's a competition? No one wants that, right? So at the end of the day, what we want to do is to make sure that we get all our information from a source that will be able to help us to be more efficient with our relationships going forward. If you will bear with me and you will see my heart on this issue, you can see that my real goal here is just to make sure that African American men and women will have the tools and the structure that they need to be able to form lasting, loving relationships. All right, now let's get started. Today we're going to talk about the 4 stages of development that all men go through. The 4 stages of development that all men go through. All right, the first stage of development has to do with a young man who is in what I would call the immature phase. That's the first phase that starts between the time a man is born up until age 12. He's immature. He hasn't learned how to control his emotions. He hasn't learned how to communicate his logical mind. He hasn't learned how to navigate the area that he's in. And what happens a lot of times with young men is that they look at the landscape in which they were born. They look at the environment they're exposed to, and what they do is they become imitators. they don't really have what I would call a comprehensive, solidified grid as they take the information into their hearts and minds. They really have yet to learn. They don't have the experience yet, nor the moral fortitude to be able to vet the information as it is coming into their sphere, their mind. And as it comes in, they just imitate the information. They just imitate it. They don't give it any thought. Okay? That's the first phase. Okay? We call that the page phase as a young man. When I was I was part of a church some years ago, and we started a program called Boys to Men. And that program was about helping young boys in our church using initiation. We would teach them how to become strong, independent. Ultimately, after they go from independent, we would groom them so that they would become interdependent, find relationships that they can trust and grow from and continue to grow. And then we would help them to become strong, independent young men. That was our goal, and we were very successful at it. So this is information that I'm pretty familiar with. If you go online, you'll probably find 8, 9, 10 different stages. We kind of broke it down to just 4 because that's kind of what we see most of the time. Now here's the second phase that all men have to go through. The second phase of development. The second phase of development is what we call the knight phase. You become a knight. Now, if you know anything about a knight, if you've read any history, what you know is that a knight is someone has a horse, he has a sword, he's going on adventures, he's having battles, he's just enjoying life. That's what knights do. You know, they kind of defend whatever they believe in, and they have their little, a lot of times, many times, a knight runs with a band, you know, of individuals, and they fight for their specific ideals, and that's kind of what the knight phase is all about. At the end of the day, the knight phase is really almost about, it's just an indulging phase. It's an immature phase. But that phase lasts from puberty, age 12 to 35. That's a long time. Now, as a woman, this information should be very important to you, because in the future, when you run into men and you find out that you have some understanding of what these phases that men are in, or if you want to call them stages that men are currently in, if you're dealing with a man and he's in what as I just indicated, he's in the knight phase, he's in the indulging phase, okay, that man is not committing to anybody. Okay? That man is most likely not going to commit to anybody. If you understand that phase, it's more likely now that, unless you're just one of these girls that want to be a party girl. Now, if you want to be a party girl, you want to enjoy yourself, then a knight is the guy you want to be with. You want to hang out, have fun, go to clubs, party it all up, drink it all up, smoke it all up. You want to do all of that? You want a knight. Because he's in his indulgence phase right now. He's in his indulgent phase. Even though that brother might have a car, he may have an apartment, he may have a job, what you want to pay attention to is not so much the externals. What you want to pay attention to is his focus. If he's focusing on knight behavior, which is indulging his feelings, indulging his carnal nature, indulging his sexual prowess, indulging his mind in illicit things, that individual is not someone at this point in his life ready to make a commitment. I think that makes sense. Okay, that's the second phase. That's the indulgent phase, or the immature phase, if you will. All right. Now, from age 35 to 45, we're dealing with the prince phase. We went from page to knight. Now we're at the prince phase. Now the prince phase is from age 35 to 45. Okay, this phase is very important because this is the phase where you will find a man. He's in the prince mode, if you will. He's building. I talked about that very briefly the last time we talked. He's in that prince mode. That brother is building. All right. Now, you have two types of prince, though. You have one that partners and one that will not partner during this building phase, or what we call the investor phase. He's not willing to get a partner. Now, when I went through my investor phase, my main focus was I was getting involved with resource acquisition. And that was the only thing I was interested in. Getting a vehicle, getting a place to live, putting money away, working for my future, working for retirement, getting a home, all these things. I was building. I was trying to get as much resources from this great country as I could. The difference between me and some of the other prince is that I wanted a partner because I felt that it was smarter. I could get to where I wanted to go faster if I could find a partner that was like mine. That was my goal, and that's what I did. Okay, so that's what you want to do. If you're interested in wanting to find an individual who is looking, or who is most likely willing to marry and to commit, what you want to do is look for a man who's in the building phase, who is a investor into resources that, for all practical purposes, are the resources that you would create a family for. You know, homes, cars, investments. You know, those are the kinds of things a man would use those resources for in order to one day start a family and create a legacy. All right. Now, then you have what we call, after you come out of that phase, which is the very last phase, we have the king phase that goes from 45 to 60. All right. That's the phase I'm in right now. I'm considered a king. Okay. That's the phase. I've already did my building. I've already experienced what I needed to experience. I've done 36 years and done quite a bit with my life and still doing things because I have a learning mentality. I have a learning mindset. So I'm consistently and continually learning. I don't have a fixed mindset. I don't see things as black and white. All right. So, but normally before a man goes into that phase, he has to go through what's called a tunnel, and some people call it a midlife crisis. I've been through that as well. That typically lasts between 3 months to 3 years, depending on the man. Okay? But what we're doing in that period of time, we're trying to ascertain in our minds, you know, what is valuable to us, what are we willing to provide, what we're not willing to provide, what we're willing to live with, what we can't live with. We're trying to determine what is meaningful to us as men when we go through that tunnel. That's part of the king phase. Because once you come out of it, that's the identity. You're getting, it's almost like being born again. When you come out of that phase and you come out of that tunnel, you come out a new man. You're normally more of a masculine man, but at the same time, you have no problem with investing, but you're investing in a different R, if you will. Instead of investing in resources, you're putting more of your energy and your time and your resources now, you're investing in relationships. You're more invested in relationships because typically those are the things that make you more, that makes you more satisfied as a king. But one thing you will realize when you're dealing with a king, you're going to hear a phrase that most kings use quite often. If someone is talking to a king about a specific issue or whatever the thing may be, typically a king will say something like this, you know, I'm not really interested in that right now. You hear that phrase quite often. Or he may say something like, that's not for me. No, thank you. Kings are very keen and very direct about what they're willing to provide. Because I know as a man, I have less time ahead of me than I had before me. I know that. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Now, if you are a woman and you're interested in maybe partnering with a man, the two areas you want to look at are prince, when the man is in that prince phase, or when he's in that king phase. But what you're going to have to find out, what you're going to have to deal with, you have to know how to approach each one. See, because if you're a woman and you're dealing with a king, and you're coming and you're doing like a lot of women today who have no respect or have no understanding for the 4 stages of development of men, a lot of women come at men using their sex appeal. And when you get to the level of a king, sex is not it's not the number 1 rung anymore. I've had enough of life. I've seen, I've been with my wife for 36 years. Sex with another woman or any other woman ain't much different in my view, you know. But at the end of the day, it's not the most important thing, even if that was my thing. It's not the most important thing. And when you deal with any man that is a king, you can't come to him using your sex appeal. It's not gonna do it for you. So I just wanted to say that's exactly where you need to understand. That is these 4 areas that will help you in the future if you are willing to take this information, use it for your own good. And for you young men out there, check yourself. Find out, where are you? Are you a page? Are you a knight? Are you a prince? Are you a king? If you're a knight, then you know you're still in your indulgent phase. If you're a prince, you're in your building phase. You're in your investor phase. You're investing. If you're a king, you're already there. You're already completed. You're on another level altogether. So, brother, those are the stages of development for manhood. Hope you learned something. See you on the other side. God bless you.